Hello, everyone. I am Michael Steelman, Director of Alumni Career Development and Professional Engagement for William & Mary. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Day 4 of William & Mary's 2024 Professional Development Week. William & Mary is your career partner for life. The university has committed to lead in the preparation of lifelong learners, equipped to navigate rapid change and thrive from their first job to their last. This week of programming, designed for the entire William & Mary community, covers a variety of topics relevant to people at all points of their career journey. When designing the sessions, we focused on the NACE career competencies, which are career and self-development, communication, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. We are truly grateful for the continued engagement of our William & Mary community to support one another's professional success. I want to acknowledge and thank all the William & Mary volunteers and colleagues who expressed their willingness to help on One Network, have taken the time to prepare remarks, advise us on topics, and are serving as networking hosts all throughout the country. Without your guidance, support, and expertise, this week would not be possible. I'm joined today by my colleagues and co-planners, Kelly O'Shaughnessy and Alex Beard, who you'll hear more from later on this session. Before I turn things over to our guest presenter, Gráinne Sibley, I just have a few technology items to cover. First, today's session is being recorded, and we'll notify all registrants once the recording is available. We hope to have all of the recordings up online by the end of this week. Questions are welcome, and we will do as best as we can to address as many questions as time will allow. If you just roll over the Zoom window, Zoom icon will appear with Q&A icon. Please use that Q&A feature to submit your questions. I will monitor those and answer and ask as many as time allow during the end of the session. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, William & Mary alumna of the class of 1999, Gráinne Sibley. Gráinne has over 20 years multidisciplinary experience serving and leading senior professionals in high-stakes, decentralized, and complex environments. She facilitates individual and group creativity, strategy, and problem solving by harnessing productive discomfort. She partners with clients to design and deliver custom group, leadership, and professional development programs and services focusing on trust, collaboration, developing new insights, and driving tangible outcomes. As you listen to Gráinne's remarks today, we encourage you to think about ways you can build and maintain collaborative relationships to work effectively toward common goals while appreciating diverse viewpoints and shared responsibilities. Without further ado, Gráinne Sibley. Thanks so much, Gráinne.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, as Michael said, I'm Gráinne. I'm a coach and a strategic facilitator, and I love working with individuals and groups who feel like they're stuck. I help twist and generate ideas and issues to create, as Michael said, productive discomfort. And what is productive discomfort? Well, stick with us for the next hour and you will find out. If I can make the slides click forward. All right, here we go. All right, so what are we doing today? We're going to do a check-in on our emotions. Then we'll talk about why it's better to choose rather than get caught up in a conflict. We will learn a new tool called the communication wheel, and we'll practice with that a little bit. We'll do a centering exercise to make sure that you are fully resourced before going into a difficult conversation with the communication wheel. I'll ask you to commit to new approaches to conflict, and Michael will flag questions for me throughout the session. And so if you have questions, just pop them into the chat box and Michael will flag me from time to time. All right, so we are going to go into something called Mentimeter. If you have a smartphone, click on the QR code and click forward to menti.com. And if you don't have a smartphone and you want to play along with us, go to www.menti.com. And when you're at menti.com, enter the code 27 19 63 72. So the code is 27 19 63 72. And you should, in Mentimeter, see a screen here that says what brought you here today. You have 100 points to use up on these questions. You don't have to use all 100, but if math is your forte and you can count to 100 pretty quickly, go ahead and use up all 100 points. So let's see what brought you here today. And we have 10 seconds left here. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and click in to respond. So it looks like almost half of you want to be more effective in conflict. About a quarter of you think that the topic intrigues you, and looks like 1% of you have nothing better to do right now. So thanks for joining instead of twiddling your thumbs or flipping through Instagram. 16% of you want to help others in your life become more effective in conflict. So that's really cool that you're thinking about the bigger system. And 15% of you are scared. I won't turn it into as huge as terrified, but the topic scares you. Yeah, conflict scares a lot of people. And hopefully towards the end of this, you will be more interested in moving into conflict. All right, so we're going to click over to the next question. And this question is about statements about conflict. On the left side is strongly disagree, and on the right side is strongly agree. And you can move the bar between strongly disagree over to strongly agree. The questions are, I enjoy conflict. I have a lot of conflict in my life, and my conflict resolution skills are excellent. So people are clicking away. All right, 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're close to the strongly disagree side on I enjoy conflict, which means I don't enjoy conflict, which is very normal for most people. The word conflict is scary. In terms of I have a lot of conflict in my life, the group is at about 24%, so a quarter of you have a lot of conflict in your life. Oh, sorry, the other way around, strongly disagree. So 75% of you do not have a lot of conflict in your life. My conflict resolution skills are excellent. Again, around a quarter of you say you strongly disagree with the statement that my conflict resolution skills are excellent. So this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for letting us know how you're feeling about these different topics and the word conflict. All right, so we have one more exercise to do in Mentimeter to figure out where you fall. When I say the word conflict, how do you feel about it? So this is where you click on a word. The upper left-hand corner, the 3 words are angry, anxious, and scared. The upper right-hand corner are excited, elated, and ecstatic. The lower left corner are sad, bored, and tired. And the right corner are calm, serene, and content. So we're having most of our clicks are in the upper left-hand corner so far. We have about 10 seconds left to click through all of this. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so most of you are in the left side, with the majority of you in the upper left-hand, angry, anxious, and scared side. One person is elated when they hear the word conflict, or at least clicked elated this time around. And we have 5 people in the lower left-hand corner with a cluster on sad, 1 bored, and 1 tired. All right, so why did I put emotional words up here when we're talking about conflict? Well, when we're mapping sentiment, when we're thinking about how we're feeling throughout the day, it might be a nice idea to check in and think about how are your emotions at this moment, especially if you're thinking about something, a conflict that you have been avoiding or want to get into. And if you can name how you're feeling, then that gives you a little extra power to be able to be more responsive rather than reactive and move into conflict in a productive manner. So let's do another overlay here. So this slide shows us about positive and negative emotions according to intensity. So the words in the angry, anxious, scared, excited, elated, and ecstatic are high intensity words. The words sad, bored, tired, calm, serene, and content are what are called low intensity words. And then the negative words are the red and pink colors, and the positive words are the blue colors. Now, why on earth does any of this matter? Well, on the left side are the blue emotions. This is the low emotion, calm and relaxed, which means that you're fully resourced, your higher cortex is fully online, and you can be linear in your thinking, you can be highly rational and thoughtful. And when you have big emotions, the big emotions won't hijack you. Instead, you'll be able to rationally and logically deal with the big emotions. On the other hand, when you have the really high emotions, which include love, these high emotions put you into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state. And why is this? Because we have adrenaline rushing through our system. Anyone heard of amygdala hijack? Well, that's because you've flipped your lid. You've flipped your higher cortex, and the amygdala is taking care of you and keeping you safe. And this, of course, has served us in the past, and it serves us in a physical danger environment. However, it's not very helpful in an interpersonal, emotional, highly charged environment when we can talk through things and we don't need to put up our fists or run away as quickly as possible. All right, so I recently read a book by Resmaa Menakem, and I was really struck by this idea of pain. And so I'm going to make a case to you for why you ought to choose conflict. Resmaa Menakem talks about what he calls clean pain. And this clean pain is what we experience when we're afraid, we don't know which way to turn, we're in an interpersonal or intergroup disagreement. And instead of running and ignoring it and pretending like time will heal everything, we step into the unknown, we step into the conflict, and we're honest and vulnerable, and we figure out how to work through it. On the other hand, how many of you have experienced and tend to go to dirty pain? Dirty pain is when we avoid, when we blame, when we deny that there's an issue. It's putting our head in the sand. When we don't respond from our most wounded parts, we unfortunately can come across as awfully cruel or violent, run away. These are the fight, flight, freeze, because the amygdala is hijacked and we're in a lot of pain. And that's the dirty pain. And so I would submit that choosing conflict, choosing to step into the clean pain, that's where it's at. And I am going to give you a tool very shortly on how to step into clean pain and clean conflict. Before we do that, Amy Edmondson is a professor, psychologist, and she coined the term psychological safety that has been in the mainstream for quite a while now and is catching on. I work in the intelligence community and Department of Defense, and people are starting to talk more about psychological safety these days. These are some words when you're thinking, or some phrases when you're thinking about entering into a conflict conversation. These are some phrases that you could use. For instance, if you want to make sure that the other person that you're talking to or the group that you're talking to feels a sense of belonging, you can start out by saying, I appreciate it when you, or I appreciate you, I believe in you, I trust you, and, or I have your back. If you're trying to be vulnerable and let the other person see that you have a great deal of vulnerability, the underutilized phrase, I am sorry. How often do you hear that? And how big is it to receive, I am sorry? Or how about, I need your help? Or in the workplace, as a parent, how often do you hear people say, I was wrong? I say to my children, hey, can we start over? And my older son tends to be like, no, mommy, we can't start over. And still, that's being vulnerable and leaning into, I was wrong, can we start over? If you want the other person to feel valued, you can start with thank you. That's another underutilized phrase that we often don't hear, especially in the workplace. Thank you. And what's your opinion? That shows that you really care about the other person's background and thoughts. If you want to come across as compassionate, you can say, hey, how can I help you? Or and this is where tone matters. You really seem like you need a rest. Why don't you go take a break? Take off the rest of the day and take care of yourself. And then finally, if we're in a fight, flight, or freeze mode, and you're trying to make sure that the other person feels a sense of security, this is like a shoulder rub. I want you to succeed. So keep these in mind when we go into our practice of the communication wheel. And before we go into the communication wheel, so conflict based on your responses and how people normally respond to conflict, we tend to be anxious and we're all up here in the amygdala and we flipped our lid and we can't be rational. So let's do a centering exercise. And some people center for a minute, 5 minutes. It can also be called meditation and refocusing. And we're just going to do something for about a minute or so to get us into the here and now instead of the past conflict, what was, and the future conflict, what could be and what's scary. So whether you're standing or sitting, close your eyes or make your eyes soft. So you have this kind of nice soft gaze and wiggle into comfort. So if you're sitting, that could be your legs crossed, or you could put your feet flat down on the ground and make your back straight and really, really kind of root down into the ground and pull up into the air so your back is nice and straight. Now, this is to calm your central nervous system. Put one hand on your heart and put your other hand below your navel and just kind of give yourself a little bit of a comfortable rub here because you've got your heart, you've got your root. Now, root your spine down. Your tailbone goes down, 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 down. And pretend like you have a string coming out of the crown of your head that's being pulled up. So that you're pulling all the tension out of your vertebrae and you're getting super tall, lots of space between your vertebrae. And then we're going to do 3 times. We're going to fill up your ribs from the bottom all the way up to the top. And exhale 3 times, nice and slow. Feel free when you exhale to do a big exhalation to push all the air out. Now, instead of filling up our ribs from bottom to top, we're going to make our rib cage expand super wide. And this is really helpful, in particular for women who try to make themselves look thinner and smaller, and many people do this as well. This is really helpful exercise to become really present and make yourself bigger. So fill up your chest and your ribs super wide. Make yourself as wide as possible. You can even pull your arms out to make yourself big. Right. So gently blink your eyes open and come back into the present for some time to take a look at the communication wheel tool. So this tool, I love using this tool with people who are afraid of conflict, think that conflict's going to spiral out of control, because this breaks the communication into really small bite-sized pieces. Each is a sentence or so. Why do we only spend a sentence on each part? Because the receiver would be completely flooded and probably wouldn't hear anything after the first thing that you say. So the point here is nice bite-sized amounts, starting with what the issue is. So this is the issue at hand, and I'd like to talk with you about it. Then you go initially to the data. And so the data is what happened in simple form, clear, concise facts. Again, just a quick sentence. Now, the next spot is feelings. Many people say feelings if we're talking about conflict at work. I can't have feelings at work. No, you can't check your feelings at the door when you walk into the office or when you log in if you're working remotely. Feelings are come up in everything that we say and we do. So acknowledge the feelings that you have around this issue. How are you feeling? Some examples are afraid, sad, mad, really open, really joyful. And then what's the judgment, the story that you attached to this issue? What does it mean to you? What kind of a story are you telling yourself? Now, the story part comes from crucial conversations. We tell ourselves stories all the time about issues and engagements that we have. And the story might be true. It might be true. And it might not be true. And there's a chance that your story is different from that other person's story. And if a bystander were there, their story would be different. So tell the person you're talking with what your story, what your conclusion, what your interpretation is of what happened. Then we move into the wants. This is, what do I personally want in this situation for you and for us, for our relationship? Okay, this is the I statement. So this is what I really want. And then we move into the willingness. What am I, again, this is I am owning this. I'm not willing to tell you what I want you to do. I am owning, what am I willing to do about what it was that I said that I wanted, right? This is the commitment part. So when we go through the communication wheel, it's nice and snippy. We say the issue, we ask permission to talk about the issue. We go into the data, feelings, judgment, wants, willingness, and all of that should take around 45 to 60 seconds. Nice and clear and quick. And I didn't have time to put this graphic in to the slide deck today, but I saw this great graphic from Adam Grant. Can someone do a thumbs up if you can see this? I saw this in my feed this morning from Adam Grant. And he's talking about conflict. What's the best way to deal with conflict? Well, in person, you go into the top of the maze and you just go around a couple corners and you come out nice and easy and quickly. A video call, not quite as efficient as in person, but still not as many twists and turns and bends. Email, oh my gosh, so many things can be misunderstood, misinterpreted, and the stories start flying with every word and every sentence. And then the dirty, dirty, dirty pain over here is saying, oh, it's fine, when it really is not fine. All right, let's go back to the slide deck. All right, so this is where we're going to ask someone to come off mic and be willing to practice playing around with the communication wheel and having a conversation with someone, a practice conversation about something that's been bothering you. So we are asking for a little vulnerability and openness. Someone who doesn't mind practicing in public. And this is an opportunity, I'm going to coach you a little bit. And so this is an opportunity to refine a message about something that you've wanted, a conversation that you've wanted to have with someone, but haven't had yet.
Hi.
Hello, is that Olivia?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes, Olivia, thank you so much for volunteering to coach through the communication wheel.
Yeah, I guess the topic I would bring today is I have a small business and my business partner does not contribute as much time and energy to it as I do. And we're really close friends, but I want to have a conversation about her commitment.
Okay, and Olivia, what stopped you from having that conversation up until now?
She very much tries to avoid conflict generally, and
Mhm.
I am trying to picture how the conversation would go, and I don't see her responding well or getting very hurt on a personal level. And I
Mhm.
don't want to hurt her, but I want to make progress.
Yeah, absolutely. So who do you want to call your business partner for right now? What should we call her?
I'll call her Sarah.
Okay. All right. So this is Olivia. Thank you for this example because this is a great opportunity to look at what the actual issue is. So many of us think that the issue that we have to talk with someone about is one of the symptoms of the overall issue. So let's go into this and let's play around with this, and we can do a few rounds of it to make sure that the issue that you are talking about with Sarah is the right issue to talk about. All right, so
Mhm.
Olivia, the way that you started out is by saying, "Hey, Sarah," and asking for
Hey,
permission.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah. I would like to have a conversation with you about our personal relationship and our business relationship. Would that be okay with you?
Yes. Right. So let's go up to the data.
Okay, Sarah, what I've been, I guess this kind of going straight into feelings, but what I've been experiencing is we will decide on tasks that we're going to accomplish in regards to our business. And I try to follow up with you on those, but a lot of times we're not meeting deliverables for our deadlines. And so I want to understand how we can do
Okay, pause,
better.
pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, love where you're going here, and you're going too far, and you've said a number of sentences, and so you probably lost Sarah to begin with, especially if she's
Yeah.
conflict averse. So let's be really tight about what the issue is. So Sarah, what I want to talk with you about today is,
Sarah, what I want to talk to you about today is your commitment to meeting deadlines for our business.
okay, now that your commitment is putting me in my heels a little bit, so how could you,
Exactly.
yeah, so it sounds like it's about deadlines.
Yeah, typically in a lot
Okay.
of different, more specific ways, but in general, yes.
Okay, so why don't we play around with this and pull it up to what I'd like to talk with you is maybe our inability to meet deadlines as a business.
Yeah. Sarah, what
Is
I would
that
like to
fair?
talk to you
Yeah.
today is about our ability as a business to meet our deadlines for clients.
Okay. So now go into something specific so that she has something to anchor on instead of always or never, which are words that aren't very helpful, especially in conflict.
Sure. Our last session that we worked on, we were about a week late getting the photos back to our client. And we
Okay.
have an upcoming
Stop.
deadline.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're talking about that one, right? So that was enough. So last time we were a week late. That made me feel,
That made me feel very anxious
okay,
about fulfilling our
no, no, no,
requirements.
just anxious. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Olivia? Because the more words you say, then she's not hearing that.
Yeah, I struggle with being concise.
No, we all do. And this is why conflict is so difficult. And thank you for volunteering so that I can keep on pausing you and massaging this to get it just right. And there are loads of right ways to do this, right? So is anxious really what you want to share with her though? It doesn't sound like, it sounds like anxious is an effect, but it probably might be another feeling.
I guess really frustrated.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I hear that from you, Olivia. So this makes me feel really frustrated. All right, what's the
Mhm.
story that you're telling yourself about Sarah? Now, this is where you say, and so this makes me feel like,
Yeah. This makes me feel frustrated because I want us to have a good working relationship, but I know
Okay.
I need to.
Don't jump too far
Okay.
up. Want is the next one. This is where you're telling the emperor that the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. This is what you say to Sarah. My feelings, I was frustrated. And so the story I'm telling myself is that you don't.
Yeah, so the story that I'm telling myself is that you're not committed to meeting our needs for our business.
Great. Okay. That was so clear. Okay. So what do you want now?
I want us to be able to openly communicate.
What does that mean?
I guess really, I want to be able to tell her, hey, we're 2 weeks out. I need you to be making progress on this. I want
Okay.
to be able to help facilitate whatever she needs to accomplish the
Okay.
deadline without making her immediately, every time I try to communicate that now, what's happening is she's like, oh, I swear I'm working on it. It's just been so busy. Like, I know that she feels attacked when I check in with her. So I want us to have better communication
Well, it
so
sounds,
that she doesn't feel negatively about it, but I can communicate what I need to.
yeah. Olivia, it doesn't sound like you want just like blanket better communication. It sounds like you want to support her. You want to support a relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like you want her to tell you if she actually doesn't feel like she's going to be able to meet the deadline.
Yes.
Okay. So choose a want there.
I want you to trust me with the reality of your situation when you're facing a deadline.
Okay. Let's change that wording a little bit because trust is a charged word and
Mm-hmm.
you can't make her trust you. So what do you want? This could be asking her to do something.
Yeah, I want you to communicate the reality of your situation when you're facing a deadline.
Okay. That
I know
that's
reality
not
is a
very
tough
clear.
word.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
clear. What do you really want?
I want her to tell me if she's not going to meet a deadline.
Okay, that's so clear. That's so clear. And that's not charged. I don't feel like that's charged. And then what are you willing to do?
I'm willing to split the workload when there's too much on your plate. And I'm
Great.
willing to, yeah, should I continue or leave it at
No,
that?
no. So you can do another cycle each time around.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have this conversation with Sarah, I'd recommend, we're all learners. And when we admit that we're learners, that helps these types of conversations go a lot more smoothly than they otherwise might go. So I encourage you to say, I learned this tool. Would you be open to me trying it out? And then maybe you could try it out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go through it from the top and see how that feels to you.
Okay. Sarah, I'd like to have a conversation with you today about how we missed our last deadline. Would you be open to that?
Yes.
Sarah, I'm feeling a little bit frustrated about the fact that we didn't meet that deadline.
Okay. You went into the feelings too fast. So remember 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So Sarah, remember 2 weeks ago, we had a, gallery to be delivered to a client and we were late on getting that to them.
Yes.
When that happened, I felt really frustrated about not meeting that deadline.
Yes.
What this is telling me is that you may not be committed to meeting these deadlines for our clients.
Okay, turn that into your story. So the story I'm telling myself is, or I'm worried that, or
Okay.
I'm
The
wondering
this
if, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is if you're really committed to meeting these deadlines for our clients.
Mhm.
What I want is for you to be able to tell me if you're not going to be able to meet a deadline.
Mhm.
And I'm willing to work with you on splitting the workload so that we can meet that deadline.
Awesome. Awesome. How did that feel, Olivia?
It feels so much more clear than the rambling that goes on in my head when I think about having this conversation.
Yeah, and the rambling that we do when we have the conversation. And when we stick to a script like this and go boom, 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 15 to 15, 10 to 15 seconds per piece, then we can be crisp and clear and be very open about what's going on without saying the and. As soon as you find yourself saying and, you have to pause yourself because you're going into another issue or another judgment or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for doing this. Um, yeah, Kelly, one sentence seems so hard, but it makes it so clear. Yes, 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 yes. Keep it simple, stupid, right? The kiss. Thanks, Olivia. Would anyone else like to so here's the thing with group dynamics. As soon as one person is open and vulnerable, then it creates safety for other people to be open and vulnerable. So Olivia, thank you for leading the way with being open and vulnerable there. How does anyone else feel about practicing a difficult conversation, potentially difficult? This could be about planning a vacation. This could be about something that's really great. It doesn't necessarily have to be about negative conflict. It could be about positive conflict too. No, I really want to do this fun thing. Yeah, but I really want to do that fun thing. I don't see anyone coming into the chat box or any hands raised. All right. Uh, and by the way, I'm on LinkedIn, so if you want to practice at all, not in front of people, feel free to message me. And I would love to help the William and Mary community with any type of conflict or any of these interpersonal dynamics. All right, so we're going to go back into Mentimeter. Oh, sorry, not yet. Now we're going to spend 2 minutes doing what's called silent brainwriting, which just means everyone's quiet, which is quite easy when we're online. And I want each of you to write down, what do you want to commit to next time you're getting close to conflict or you find yourself in conflict? What might you want to commit to? So I'll set a timer for 2 minutes for you to make a commitment. All right, we have about 10 seconds left. And I'd love to see some people drop in a commitment or two into the chat box so that we can see, oops, how you're feeling about your conflict commitments. Yes, Catherine, you want to go for the clean pain rather than the dirty pain. Don't let it fester. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. It is a great wheel. All right, Kelly. Yeah, so when we have these visual reminders, it can help us be more present and follow what we say we want to do when we're fully resourced and our lid doesn't flip. Awesome, Lisa. All right, so we're going to go back into Mentimeter now. And so all right, Christy, yes, have a conversation sooner. So now I'd like to see, based on seeing how to use the communication wheel, how do you feel about conflict now? If you already logged out of Mentimeter, you can use the QR code or go to menti.com, 72 50 84 57. Oh, wow, look at this. We have more clicks in the calm, serene, content quadrant. We still have some anxious and scared, of course. I still get anxious and scared about conflict, even though I love the idea of conflict. And it looks like maybe one of the clicks is kind of in the blues, maybe a little bit towards the reds too, kind of in the middle. Yeah, so this is awesome. I am so excited that many of you moved up from the upper left-hand red quadrant into the light blue lower right-hand quadrant. We had a huge shift in how everyone's feeling about conflict. Still, conflict can make us really anxious and scared. And we could be calm and serene and content, especially when we do a centering exercise and get ourselves into the here and now and the present so that we can be fully resourced and not feeling under-resourced. All right, so we would love to hear your questions in the chat box, or if you'd like to come off mic. Or Michael, is this your?
I'm happy to help facilitate, or we can have people if they want to come off mic. It's easy, whatever's easier for them. And thank you so much, Gráinne, for just an incredible session. But also, Olivia, thank you for taking that bold step to come off mic and share a wonderful situation to watch and observe. The two of you discuss that was really very helpful for many of us online today. So thank you for doing that. And I encourage anybody to have any questions to submit them in the Q&A or chat, and happy to ask Gráinne on behalf. Give a moment here, see if there's any questions that coming in from any attendees. Here we go. Okay, so depending on the situation, do you change the wheel? So if it's a family or a work situation, how do you normally recommend people address the wheel and usage of it?
Yeah, I think that this wheel ought not to be changed. I think it's extremely effective talking about the data first to level set, so that people know what you're talking about instead of initially going into the feelings of, hey, I'm really angry, I want to talk with you, or I'm so frustrated, I want to talk with you. Set the stage about specifically what it is that you want to talk about and what occurred. And it's really helpful if you can anchor on an event, an actual event, rather than an amalgamation of events. Because when we say always or never, I'd like to put that bee in your bonnet. Next time you say always or never, pause and undo it and say, hey, I didn't actually mean that, because nothing is really always or never. So yeah, I think it's really effective to first talk about the data and the feelings, and then make some I statements so that they understand the story that you're telling yourself. Because we tell ourselves stories all the time about everything. There's your story, my story, and a few other realities going on as well.
One question I'll add is, does this change at all when it's an individual versus a group of people? And what advice do you recommend when you're in a group setting versus an individual setting, whether it's like a conference table environment at work or an individual client or person? So just curious.
Yeah, I've used this in leadership conversations with direct reports. I'm thinking about a conversation about quality of products, and I gave the example of something that had been that we quote got in trouble for because quality wasn't good. That I was really frustrated, and my judgment was, you guys are letting me down. You know that we're being ultra scrutinized, and so what I want is to help make sure that we can maintain our stellar reputation, and that you guys are known for being amazing. And what I'm willing to do is to go to bat for you. And then I went through another cycle as well of like, what I don't want to do is micromanage. But because of the data of the fact that we've been told that we're failing, I'm actually starting now to get angry. And my judgment is that you guys don't care. And so what I want to do now is start micromanaging you and getting in your business. Even though I don't want to do that, I'm going to. And I'm willing to back off in 2 weeks' time if we're able to get back to where we used to be. This happened years ago, and that job that I was in, when I went into the job, this was running tasking and editing for my agency. And 98% of our taskers were being returned because the quality just wasn't there. And within a few months, only a third were being returned. So that kind of a conversation, they hadn't been given a real conversation of, I can't believe this is happening, and I've got you back. I've got your back. And we often don't hear that from our supervisors, that they've got our back.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear. Another question here is, how soon should you wait to have a conversation? In particular, this individual feels a little too emotional, as you mentioned, the calm exercise, to have the conversation at the time, and oftentimes waits until they are calm to reflect and focus on that. But it's oftentimes days later. Is that too long? What do you recommend as far as your best outcomes?
I wish, Michael, that there was an answer for that. What I've found is I am what my mother used to tell me. I'm a very impulsive person, and so I move towards conflict. And I've learned over the years to not move as quickly into conflict as I had in the past. And still, I have a bias for action. And for me, it'll fester if I let it sit for a while. Other people, and so my amygdala can flip, and then I can come back to homeostasis fairly quickly so that I can have the clear conversation. Some people, their amygdala flips and they need a couple of days to come back to homeostasis and to be able to feel fully resourced and really figure out what the issue is. So it depends on personality. What I do know is the more we practice this, the more comfortable we are with identifying what the actual issue is, and not a symptom of an issue. Like if I had a meeting at work every day at 9 o'clock and someone always came in at 9:05, and I was livid because that person never got a chance to hear what the priorities were for the day. What if that person had a childcare issue that I was unaware of? And then I flip out at the person because I call the issue being late, whereas the issue is work-life balance or other priorities in that person's life, right? So we're so quick. The story I'm telling myself is that you don't care about our job here. Well, the story that you ought to be telling yourself is that I have to drop my child at school and I can't possibly get here by 9 o'clock, right? So this is why using a communication wheel like this is so effective, because the other person can say, yes, indeed, I come in 5 minutes after the meeting every single day. And I feel so frustrated about that because I miss out on so much. And the story I'm telling myself is, you don't care that I have a child that I have to drop off, and you can't push the meeting back 5 to 10 minutes so that I can be there. Right. So it can get so cool engaging in the data, feelings, judgments, wants, and willingness if both people want to play around with it. And this is what it is. It's about playing around. It's improv.
You know, you basically answered this next question, but I think, I mean, you might have some additional pieces to add. So if you are a manager, how can you approach conflict in a way that sets a level playing field with your employees so that the power dynamics is out of play and you're really focused on good communications and helping them be honest and not worried about the punishments of things that may be related to their employment?
Michael, I think this comes down to a lot of I statements and psychological safety that you can't just snap and create. Whenever I start a job with a new team, I make a lot of I and vulnerability statements and talk about how I approach conflict. I do say, like, I love productive discomfort. I really get excited about conflict because when we are not in conflict, we're stagnating. And so, as we talked about earlier, conflict can be feelings of excitement and love, right? These are the big feelings. And so when we're not having the big feelings, then we might be disengaged and we're not bringing our whole selves in. Plus also, we're not being creative. And so sometimes it's nice to kind of get along to go along and be at a low buzz. But if we want to have creativity, we need to have some collisions and differences in opinion and do the yes and in a very positive, generative way rather than no, but you're stupid, you're wrong. That could never happen. Did I answer your question?
I think so. And then from a superior standpoint, how would you approach the supervisor to be effective? I guess it's kind of your example earlier when you had that group setting where you were coming in but
yeah, I think it's the same, Michael. It's the same. Just one slide that I had that I got rid of was about the nonverbals. So our verbals really only account for about a third of the interpersonal interaction. And so our nonverbals, which mean our tone and the way that we comport ourselves, tells the other person a lot as well. So this is an example of if you are talking to someone who is in a subordinate position to you, which could be at work or children or in a store or whatever. If you lean in and if you get really big and if you start shaking your hand, you're getting rid of psychological safety and you're shifting the power dynamic. Similarly, if you're talking to your boss and you become diminutive and smaller, you're as well not stepping into, hey, this is an issue that I'd like to present and talk with you about. And so it's about the tone and our body language. And sometimes we have to fake it until we make it get big.
got me now worrying about my posture and everything. So what if the person that you're confronting is being irrational and disrespectful, and regardless of everything that you've tried or data presented and careful consideration, all that, they still are just stuck in this adversarial environment?
Yeah. So I went through mediation training in my mid-20s, and this has stuck with me for the past 20 years. In order to have a positive mediation session, or really to go into a mediation session, if we're assuming there are two parties and the mediator, both parties need to acknowledge that there's a problem and want to fix it. So this is why at the center of the communication wheel, we have the issue. This is what I want to talk with you about. Because if I said to you, hey, Michael, I want to talk to you about the price of corn crops in Uganda, you might not care about that. And so it's not an issue for you. So you have no stake in the game and you don't even want to be in the conversation with me. So that's a kind of a positive way of framing it. If both parties don't want to come up with a positive solution, it doesn't matter how much you personally want to have this kind of a conversation, it'll fall on deaf ears. You can't make it happen. And that's where bringing in some kind of alternative dispute resolution could be really helpful, because you can't will another person to listen. You can't will another person to be open or to understand your side of the story, sadly, as much as we'd love that.
Well, Gráinne, we've run out of time, as always, in some of these that are so interesting and intriguing, and really appreciate you preparing today and taking the time to give us some really great exercises to put into practice. What a great addition to Professional Development Week. I'm going to turn it over to Kelly O'Shaughnessy to say a few parting messages as well. So thank you.
Gráinne, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and advice with the full William & Mary community today. We really appreciate the time you took into preparing your session and comments for all of us to learn more about the necessary tools for productive conflict, including the tangible resource of the communication wheel. We also thank Olivia for sharing your coaching session with the full group so that we could learn to see how the wheel can work in action. We'll put it out there. We did not put Olivia up to it, so we really appreciate that. As Michael mentioned at the beginning of the session today, we've been working throughout the week to incorporate the NACE career readiness competencies, and this session has absolutely hit on communication, critical thinking, and professionalism in several ways. Gráinne has already suggested for all of you to write down some next steps for yourself. And I just share as a reminder that you've all chosen to participate in sessions this week for your own growth and professional development. And so to keep the conversation going, I'm going to pass it over to Alex.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, thank you everyone for being part of today's session. As we wrap up Professional Development Week tomorrow, I encourage each of you to join for our online networking hour that is at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. It presents a great opportunity for you to connect with the entire William & Mary community via one-on-one round-robin networking chats. These are text-based chats, audio, video. You can choose how you connect with others. We've learned so many great things today. I invite you to join William & Mary One Network, and I'm just going to share my screen really quickly to share any of the takeaways from today. So we have a pinned post at the very top. If there's something that you learned in today's session, we would love to hear about it in the comments there. We would love to encourage that dialogue. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.